here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Oakland Athletics in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the A's, left-hander J.P. Sears, and for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, you'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll also hear from today's starting pitcher, Randy Vasquez. And in just a little bit, we check in with Padres radio voice, Jesse Agler. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside. Padres entered today with a record of 35-35. Padres split a 4-game series with the Diamondbacks to begin this homestand. Then they won yesterday's series opener. The A's, meanwhile, 26-42. Entering today, the A's have lost 5 consecutive series, trying to avoid making it 6 in a row here today. Before we turn our full attention to tonight's game, let's take a look back at what happened yesterday here in downtown San Diego.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
The Padres trailed 1-0 in the bottom half of the third. That was before Jake Cronenworth dug in.
2-0 hit in the air to very deep right field. Cronenworth way back and gone. A home run to tie it 1-1 here in the bottom of the third inning. His 10th of the year.
Padres took a 2-1 lead on an RBI hit from Ha-Sung Kim in the 4th inning. In the 5th inning, Fernando Tatis Jr. struck again.
1-1. Estes delivers, hit in the air to right, deep. Cameron twisting around, looking up. This one gonna go off the top of the wall and right and shooting up over the home run deck. Another home run for Fernando. It is 12th of the year yesterday. This is number 13, and that is a 16-game hitting streak, and that is a 3-1 Padre lead.
A 16-game hitting streak, the longest active streak in the major leagues, and now the longest of Fernando's career. Meanwhile, Dylan Cease delivered a quality outing, 6 innings and 1 run given up. He struck out 9. Cease dealt with base runners in every inning. He dealt with a runner in scoring position in 4 of the 6 innings, but he worked through it. Padres then loaded the bases in the 7th inning. They made it 4-1 on a bases-loaded walk. Jackson Merrill then picked up his 3rd hit of the night.
Merrill swings, lines it into center field, and a base hit. Cronenworth has scored. Manny will be held at third base. He's got the bad hip. RBI single, Jackson Merrill, his 3rd hit of the night, and the Padre lead is 5-1.
Jackson Merrill, a very nice night. 3 hits, the RBI. Ha-Sung Kim drove in another run a little bit later with a sac fly. Padres had a 3-run 7th inning and a 6-1 lead, and that was our final last night here in downtown San Diego. The Padres 6 and the A's 1. And now the Padres will try to make this a winning series and a winning homestand. Padres and the A's wrap up this series tomorrow afternoon here at Petco Park, and the Padres hoping it won't be a rubber match of that series tomorrow. We'll see if the Padres can get it done here tonight with right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can tweet at me at SammyLev, SammyLev. Instagram DM's open as well, Sammy Lev there too. Same handle, same spelling there. And if you want to comment on our YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter video streams, you can do that as well. Let me know, what is your key to tonight's game? Is it Randy Vasquez? Is it the Padres offense? Let me know. I may just read your key to the game coming up a little bit later on. Let's check in with Padres radio voice, Jesse Agler.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
We go down the way here at Petco Park. We're joined by Jesse Agler as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40. Jesse, right-hander Randy Vasquez, back on the mound today for the Padres. Last 3 starts for Randy have been pretty solid. With the injuries to Joe Musgrove, we'll see what the timetable ultimately is for Yu Darvish and his return. What's the importance you put on a guy like Randy Vasquez continuing to do what he's done as of late?
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, it's one thing to have organizational depth. It is another thing to be able to utilize it with regularity, and that's not always the case because so often, of course, when you're talking about organizational depth, you're talking about guys who are, unproven for one reason or another, maybe as starters, maybe at this level, or what have you. Obviously, with Major getting a couple of starts in that other empty spot in the rotation, one good, one not as good. He's a young guy who's going through it for the first time. Randy's got a little bit more experience and a little bit more polish, obviously, because of where he's at in his career. But nonetheless, it's a guy that's, figuring things out to a certain extent on the fly here. And his ability to do so, I think, absolutely, critical to the success that this team is going to have. The good news is he certainly looks like he's getting better and better. And again, I'll use my chutes and ladders thing that I always do. There's a reason you play that when you're a kid, right? It's not success is not a straight line. There will be pitfalls. There will be moments when he goes down that slide, I'm sure. But he has generally, I think, in a very big way, shown that he is improving. And I'm very, very bullish on Randy Vasquez and his ability to help here. And the good news is, beside those 2 guys, you got a couple of other options out there if they kind of find themselves in a situation where they might need to be creative. Brito and Morejon are both capable of giving length if they're stretched out a little bit. So, I know I've said this a bunch of times lately, but it's worth repeating and it's worth remembering. I think the Padres are as well positioned to absorb starting pitching injuries now than they have been at any point in the last many, many years. And whatever success they have this year, a big part of it is going to be because of that and because of the efforts that these guys put forth.
Yeah, it's a really good point about the pitching depth this team has, and we'll see how Randy Vasquez does tonight against this A's lineup. Jesse, in some ways here at Petco Park in 2024, we're getting what we're used to, a little bit of June gloom, overcast skies, great crowds here in downtown San Diego. But one way it has been quite different, the home run ball in this building. The Padres right now on pace to hit more home runs than they've ever hit here. What are you noticing about the power? How can we explain maybe the increase in power? Any theories, ideas? Because really for the Padres and their opponents, home runs are flying out of this place at a rate that we just have not seen before.
Yeah, a couple things. One, earlier in this season, as I'm sure you remember, it was only the opponents.
Right.
So that to me is kind of a big clue to the story, right? The other piece of it is the Padre hitters have been much better. Not just at home, but generally. Remember, you and I would kind of kick around home and road splits in mid-May, and it was kind of like, I don't know how intellectually honest this is because it's such a small sample size. Well, now as we get deeper into the season, some things start to become a little bit more in focus, and one of those things is, Cronenworth and Profar hitting the way they are, Fernando starting to hit the way he is, has been hitting now for a couple of weeks, Manny looking like he's getting going, Kim looking like maybe he's getting going, and maybe it's as simple as the Padre hitters are really, really talented, and they've got the ability to hit the ball a really, really long way when they're doing what we expect them to be doing, and that's what's happening right now. Earlier in the year, we were talking about, well, the opposition is hitting all these home runs at Petco, but the Padres can't hit any. Those guys just weren't hitting home runs generally. And now that we're into the second week of June, we're starting to see, up for a lot of these guys at least, the numbers trend back towards kind of the expectations, and in some cases, of course, beyond the expectations. And so to me, it might be as simple as that. I've now watched, 10-plus seasons of baseball here. There is no question that the way the ball carries in this yard has changed a couple of times in that time. It was the video board, is the Sempra energy building, the batter's eye, then not the batter's eye. All these, the walls have been brought in multiple times, since this place opened 20 years ago now. So there definitely are many variables over the years here. And the other one I'll throw out there, because I think the record, the ballpark home run record was set in 19. That was one of the years the ball was flying. The ball, B-A-L-L, was really flying all around baseball. And that's something to kind of keep in mind, because I know we don't talk about that as much anymore, because I think it's not as much of a story anymore. But that year, everywhere we went, the ball was carrying like crazy. The best thing that I have seen, and really what I want to see is playing fairly now. You see a guy, hit the whatever out of the ball. Generally, it's going over the fence. And, there's a couple cheapies, down the left field line. You can tuck one over that little wall. Down the right field line, you got the Petco porch that juts out to, 312 or whatever it is, 322. And, those are those. But generally, it seems like the kinds of swings that result in home runs or should result in home runs are here at Petco Park now. And I know it's kind of a long-winded answer to a big question, but, I really do think it's probably, at least most of it, just, that the Padre hitters are doing what the Padre hitters are capable of now.
No, it's an intriguing question and certainly an intriguing answer, and we'll see what the final number is at the end of the year. Padres have shown a lot of power so far in this homestand. 11 home runs in the first 5 games of this homestand. We'll see if they can keep it up here tonight. My goodness, the home run that Fernando hit yesterday, that pitch was a foot or two off the plate. Classic Fernando, found a way to get it out. Jesse, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up at 6:30. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, that is Jesse Ackler joining us here on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game set between the Padres and the Oakland Athletics. Overcast skies here in downtown San Diego. It's been like that pretty much all day. I woke up in PB this morning. It was a little drizzle, a lot of clouds. I thought maybe I'd get to the ballpark around 2 p.m. and it would be all cleared up, sunshine, beautiful, blue skies. Nope. We got June gloom here today. That's okay, though. Should be a fun night of baseball as the Padres continue this series against the Oakland A's. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Plus, a little bit later, we hear from today's starting pitcher, Randy Vasquez. I had a very good conversation with Randy earlier this week inside the Padres clubhouse, so stay tuned for that. Much more to get to as we get ready for first pitch here on the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40 in downtown San Diego. Right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres here today. Left-hander J.P. Sears on the mound for the A's, and we'll get into it a little bit more later. The Padres have had their fair share of issues so far this season against left-handers. Jackson Merrill coming off a 3-hit game. A lot of good stuff from last night as the Padres won the series opener against Oakland 6-1. Let's hear what Padres manager Mike Shildt had to say before today's game.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Mike, Randy seems to continue to grow and get more and more comfortable out there each time. How much are you looking forward to seeing the next step in his growth today?
Yeah, really excited. I mean, he's done, to your point, the growth. I love that term. He's growing from his experiences, getting better as we go, and looking forward to seeing him compete tonight.
Speaking of growth, Jackson Merrill, what have you seen from both on the defensive side and the offensive side of where he was at the beginning of the season versus where he is now?
I love his continual growth mindset, and I just appreciate the fact we talk about experiences. He grows from his, he grows from others. You know, I'm enjoying the interaction with him and his teammates. I'm really pleased with the ability for, the guys that have more time in the league. Toddy sticks out, Pro, Manny. But they've done a really nice job of just, bringing him along, and especially Toddy in the outfield with him, and him being open to receive some of that too. And, he looks at every day as a chance to get better, and I just love his growth mindset coupled with his ability. It's a great combination.
And a lot of times we see young guys, they'll go through dips and, there's troughs, so to speak. It seems like he's done a pretty good job of minimizing those up to this point, just staying pretty consistent.
Yeah, that consistent word's everything. I'd say it a fair amount when we talk, and I use a lot of my answers to a lot of y'all's questions about, what is it going to take? It's going to take consistency against X, Y, or Z, whatever the topic may be. And it's the biggest challenge because this level is clearly hard. It's a challenging league. And the human factor comes into it. The emotional side comes into it. And he's got a trait that's very special in that he can self-actualize really quickly. He can make his adjustments. He can get back to what he knows works. And he can not get too caught up in some of the results of what's taking place and get back to know what it takes for Jackson Merrill to be successful and stick to that blueprint, even when this game doesn't allow it, because the game, like I said today, is so darn challenging, and you can do everything right and square up balls to, AJ's point the other day about, hitting a lot of balls at people and still not getting outside himself and being able to, move forward and make good decisions and give yourselves the best chances in a challenging game.
What have you seen out of Jake lately? He started off hot, went through a little bit of a dip, and seems like he's really starting to find himself once again.
Yeah, he's in a really good spot. He, again, same thing. Got back to the identity who he is. The beginning of the season, player he's been, that's created him to be a guy that rightfully this organization invested in and has a long-term commitment to, which I'm excited about. And he's back to just being that gritty, hard-nosed, good approach, kind of player, and he's done that this year. And the game didn't reward him again in a few instances, and tried to push a little bit to try to make it happen, and got back to just executing what he knows works, using a big part of the field. And now the balls go out of the ballpark because he's got a great approach to match his swing.
You see with some guys when they're changing a position like he needed to do, going over to second base, and it can affect the offensive side. I guess with Jake, it's been the opposite, but he's such a baller and so tough. I guess maybe that's not a surprise.
He's just a baller, man. He's a ball. I mean, like I said, you can put him literally anywhere. He comes in and he'll be like, I got an inning in me today, and he'll remind me about every 10th day, like, I got a 0 ERA in the big leagues with a punch out. I won't mention who, but he'll tell you. And so I just love the fact that he's willing to do anything, and him going over to play second base and still hitting is no surprise to me. It is a nice compliment to him, though.
Offensively, you've hit the ball really nicely lately, facing a left-hander here tonight. Some of the numbers against lefties maybe not as good so far this year. Is there anything approach-wise you want to see differently against lefties moving forward?
I think it's really just about, regardless of handiness, we're going to make sure we understand what they're doing and, more importantly, what we're trying to do to them, and then being really stubborn in making that happen and making sure we get a good pitch to hit and making sure our approach is consistent with what we're going to see. we do that. That's all we can do.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game. We'll hear more from Mike coming up on our post-game show a little bit later on this evening. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. In fact, we'll hear a little bit more from Mike Shildt during our injury report coming up a little bit later, because we will get an update on Yu Darvish. Darvish did throw a bullpen earlier today, was out on the field practicing pickoff throws, so we'll get a full update on Yu Darvish and what his status may be in the coming days and the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up a little bit later on. Let's tell you right now who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We begin with the hot category. Fernando Tatis Jr. certainly in there in the midst of a 16-game hitting streak, the longest active streak in the major leagues, and now the longest of Fernando's career. Tatis is batting .394 with 5 home runs, 12 RBIs during this 16-game span. Fernando will look to join Adrian Gonzalez as the only Padres to hit safely in 17 consecutive games. Since the year 2000, Gonzalez did it twice in 2006. Fernando also continues to torture the A's. 5 home runs now in 9 career games against Oakland after last night. Jurickson Profar, Fernando's buddy, joins him in the hot category. Hits in 12 of his last 14 games. 3 home runs, 11 RBIs in that span, batting .333 in those 14 games. Jackson Merrill in the hot category as well. 9 for his last 23 with 4 extra base hits during a 6-game hitting streak. Jake Cronenworth, 8 for 19 with a couple of home runs in 5 games on this homestand. Max Schumann for the A's in the hot category. 9 for his last 26 with 6 runs scored in the last 9 games. In the not category, we take a look at a couple of A's, and we take a look at one Padre, J.J. Bleday for the A's, just 5 for 37 in his last 10 games. Shea Langoliers, 7 for 52 in his last 15 games. And also the first time we've ever done this since the trade of Luis Arraez to the Padres. Yeah, we got to put Luis in the not category. Luis Arraez, 0 for his last 12. He will look to avoid going hitless in 3 consecutive games for the first time since June of last season here tonight. So sorry, Luis Arraez in the not category. Might be the only time we do that this year, hopefully. 0 for his last 12. We'll see if Arraez can get it going here today, back in the lineup playing first base and leading off. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the A's. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, we have the injury update on Yu Darvish, plus I have a really good conversation with Padres right-hander and tonight's starting pitcher, Randy Vasquez. First pitch coming up at 6:40 on the Padres Radio Network. For EcoWater SoCal, Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as the Padres get ready to take on the Oakland A's. First pitch coming up at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego. A lot to do on our pregame coverage. We'll hear from tonight's starting pitcher, Randy Vasquez, in just a little bit. We'll also have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, our keys to the game, and much, much more. But first, let's update you on what Yu Darvish did today and the outlook for you moving forward.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit him up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Yu Darvish was out on the field earlier today. He did throw a bullpen today. He was also out on the major league field on the mound practicing pickoff throws. I at least saw him practicing pickoff throws to second base. So Yu Darvish was out there today, a bullpen practicing pickoff throws. Here is what Mike Shildt had to say about Yu Darvish, his status earlier today inside the Padres dugout.
He threw a bullpen today. I was literally finishing up some prep before, and I wasn't able to, and I don't usually go out and watch the sides anyway. It's Ruben and that group's job and medical, but I haven't got any feedback's my point. And then relative to how he feels and how he recovers, I know he was going to do a little bit of pickoffs. Maybe you guys saw that. We'll plan the next couple steps. So hopefully he comes out of it, positively, and we'll move forward on the progression back to pitching for the big league club.
He's not going to need a rehab assignment.
I wouldn't say he wouldn't need a rehab assignment. The further you get away from actual game competition, something needs to happen for him to get built up. Whether that's a rehab assignment, whether that's a, internal up and down situation, whether he goes to Arizona and figures that out, that's what's on the table. But, something's going to happen that we'll partner with you on that gets him back to when he shows up. A, he's healthy, and B, he's relative, able to give us, X number of pitches to give us a quality start.
That was Mike Shildt earlier today on Yu Darvish. Darvish on the IL still right now with that groin strain. He last pitched on May 29th. It certainly didn't sound earlier today from Mike Shildt like Darvish will appear this weekend against the Mets. And you heard there, not shutting down the idea that Darvish would need some sort of rehab assignment or way to sort of build back up again. So we'll see what the updates are on Yu in the next few days and what the Padres plan to do with Yu Darvish. But I think right now, pretty good news. Through a bullpen today, was practicing pickoff throws to second base. So hopefully Yu Darvish is close to returning, hopefully sooner rather than later. And that's a full update on Yu Darvish for you on this Tuesday. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look today at scores from around the major leagues. They look like this. Orioles have already beaten the Braves today in Baltimore 4-0. Game's going on right now. Marlins ahead of the Mets 3-2 in New York in the 7th inning. Nationals and the Tigers tied at 4 in Detroit in the 9th inning. Cubs and the Rays in Tampa Bay. Cubs 2, Rays 1 in the 9th. Guardians 3, Reds 2 in Cincinnati in the 7th inning. Phillies lead the Red Sox at Fenway Park 4-1 in the 8th inning. Rockies ahead of the Twins 4-0 in Minnesota in the 6th inning. Pirates and the Cardinals in St. Louis in the 6th inning. Scoreless game there. Yankees leading the Royals 6-0 in the 4th inning in Kansas City. Blue Jays ahead of the Brewers 1-0 in Milwaukee in the 3rd. Games yet to begin. White Sox and the Mariners at 6:40. Astros and the Giants at 6:45 in San Francisco. And finally in LA, the Rangers and the Dodgers at 7:10. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Tuesday. Right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres here today. Vasquez has been very solid in his last 3 starts. He certainly put together a pretty solid start against the Arizona Diamondbacks in his last outing to begin this homestand. We'll see what's in store for Randy Vasquez here today. I caught up with Randy earlier this week inside the Padres clubhouse. Sam Levitt here inside the Padres clubhouse, and right now I'm joined by Padres right-hander Randy Vasquez alongside interpreter Danny Sanchez. And Randy, your last 3 starts in the major leagues, they've all been really solid. As of late, what's worked for you on the mound?
Bueno, tus últimas 3 salidas obviamente han sido muy sólidos, que he estado trabajando por ti las últimas 3 salidas.
Estamos trabajando mucho en lo que es mi mecánica, como te venía diciendo. Estamos trabajando también en la secuencia de picheo, en los patrones de ataque y gracias a Dios estamos logrando un resultado positivo, que estamos eliminando la base por bola y atacando a cada oponente que nos enfrentemos.
Yeah, a lot of it is working on the mechanics, alongside working with the sequencing, kind of plan of attack. And luckily, I've been able to limit the base on balls, the walks, and so far it's been working.
As far as your mechanics, what are some specific things that you've been working on lately?
Que si puedes hablar de lo mecánico, específicamente en qué has estado trabajando.
En realidad sí, estoy trabajando mucho en quedarme en la pierna de atrás, no levantar mi talón de montículo, trabajando más en mi breaking ball, en mi cambio, que ha sido muy efectivo, en mi forcing, que lo he mejorado bastante. Y sí, estamos implementando varias cositas más para tener éxito.
A lot of different things, my back foot, making sure I stay on the mound a little bit longer, my breaking balls, my four-seamer, really it's a lot of different variables.
You are a guy who throws a number of different pitches, and it seems like you're able to mix in all those pitches pretty well. Right now, which pitches in particular are working?
Bueno, que obviamente tienes diferentes picheos. Para ti ahorita, ¿cuáles picheos están trabajando?
Están trabajando mucho la curva y el sweeper, porque a veces se me queda jangueado y a veces lo tiro bien, pero estamos implementando muchas cosas nuevas que quizás en el futuro no den éxito.
Yeah, I would say the curve and the sweeper. At times I've hung them, but I think as of late they've both worked really well, and hopefully that's something that continues to work well here in the future.
What about the curve and the sweeper do you think is playing really well right now in particular?
Que si puedes hablar de la curva y del sweeper, ¿qué de esos picheos está trabajando ahorita?
La curva en 2 strike, que a veces la dejo janguear, y es un nuevo picheo para mí, para mi staff, porque nunca había tirado curva, lo que había tirado sweeper, y el sweeper se me está quedando medio a medio, que lo debo de tirar un poquito más bajito a la zona.
Yeah, I think the curveball for me, especially with 2 strikes, has been effective. Like I mentioned, I think at times it's been a pitch that I've hung before, but really trying to hone that pitch. It's new for me. The curve is a new pitch for me. And then with the sweeper, I think it's okay. It's still a work in progress, but, we're working on it.
Randy, finally, in this last start against Arizona, you gave up some early runs, but then you were able to really settle into a groove, be really effective for a number of innings in a row. What was key in that start, really settling in the way you did?
Bueno, la clave para ti esta última salida, que obviamente pues las primeras 3 entradas no te fue tal vez tan bien, pero te calmaste. ¿Qué fue la clave para ti calmándote?
La clave fue que nunca bajé la cabeza por lo que estaba pasando, siempre mantuve mi cabeza en alto y siempre con mi mentalidad positiva de que yo puedo seguir atacando a los bateadores y seguir el plan de ataque. Y también el éxito de esa salida fue también que nunca me detuve, o sea, nunca paré de seguir insistiendo, seguir atacando y gracias a Dios tomamos ese resultado.
Yeah, I think the key for me was never hanging my head. I kept my head high and, I kept battling. I think for me, maintaining that good positive mentality was something that kind of helped me get through that outing.
Randy, you may have an opportunity here to get a number of starts in a row in the major leagues. So far, you've been up and down from AAA. What do you think that getting consistent starts here in the majors could do for you moving forward?
Que en tu opinión, o sea, la oportunidad, que tal vez vas a tener varias oportunidades de tener salidas, que has subido, bajado de AAA, pero para ti, ¿qué significa la oportunidad de tener salidas aquí en el futuro?
En realidad significa mucho y también me siento un poco mal por lo que está pasando con mi compañero de equipo que están lesionados. Pero como siempre te he dicho, si el equipo me va a necesitar en cualquier momento, en cualquier situación, siempre yo voy a estar disponible y dar lo mejor de mí para que así yo pueda dar mejor impresión y que mis compañeros se sientan a gusto con mi trabajo.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I mean, I feel a little bad just given the circumstances, with my teammates being injured. But at the same time, it's like I've always said, whatever the team needs of me, I'm here to give my best. So unfortunately, my teammates are dealing with some injuries right now. But as far as my focus, it's to help the team, and whatever opportunities I'm given or whatever they ask of me, I'm here and ready for it.
Randy, really nice job against Arizona. Thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
Our keys to the game as the Padres get ready to take on the Oakland A's. Key number 1, take advantage of J.P. Sears on normal rest. The A's left-hander has really benefited from extra rest this season. Sears has a 6.75 ERA this season in 4 starts when he starts on 4 days rest, normal rest. When Sears gets extra rest, he has a 2.05 ERA in 8 starts. Today, Sears is pitching on just 4 days rest. So the question here today, can the Padres take advantage of that? Those are some pretty stark differences in the numbers. Again, a 2.05 ERA when he has some extra rest, the 6.75 ERA when he's on 4 days rest. Today, Sears is on 4 days rest. What does that mean for Sears, and can the Padres take advantage of that? That's key number 1. Key number 2, take advantage of this A's offense. The A's have a major league high 43 games this season with 3 runs or fewer. The A's are averaging just 3.6 runs per game this year. That ranks 29th out of 30 teams in the major leagues. This is a team that really relies on the home run. More than 50% of their runs this season have come on the home run. The one run they scored last night, you guessed it, it was on a home run. So keeping this team inside the ballpark and, quite frankly, keeping this A's offense at bay, that's key number 2. This should not be an offense that you have to worry about scoring 7, 8 runs, whatever. A high number shouldn't be that way. We'll see if the Padres can continue to keep this offense in check here today. And key number 3, the Padres offense, keep racking up the hits and turning those hits into wins. Even with a 5-game losing streak mixed into these last 11 games, the Padres offense has been collecting a ton of hits in that 11-game span. The Padres are hitting .299 with an .842 OPS as a team in the last 11 games. They have at least 10 hits in 7 of those games. In the last 5 games at home, the Padres have 11 home runs. Keep in mind, they had just 11 home runs in the 18 games before they came back home. So the power has been a much, much bigger part of the Padres offense as of late, especially during this homestand. But even with that said, everything we just said about the last 11 games, Padres hitting .299, .842 OPS, the home runs here at home, the Padres are still at just 5-6 in those 11 games. So the offensive production has not really matched the win total. Let's be honest about it. So the Padres need to keep collecting hits, need to keep hitting home runs, but then turn those hits somehow, some way into wins. They're hitting the ball well enough right now overall to be winning more. We'll see if the Padres can pick up a win here today, and that's a look at our keys to today's game. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, we tell you what to watch for in today's game. Plus, we have a full breakdown of our pitching matchup between Randy Vasquez and J.P. Sears. And just a quick note on those two guys that you might find interesting. A pair of former Yankee pitching prospects on the mound here tonight. Both Vasquez and Sears debuted for the Yankees before being traded away. Vasquez was sent to San Diego as part, of course, of the package for Juan Soto last winter. Sears was dealt to Oakland in the Frankie Montas trade in 2022. So a couple of guys that used to at least have dreams of wearing the pinstripes. Sears never pitched for the Yankees. Vasquez did briefly, but two guys from the Yankees organization now facing off here in San Diego tonight. When we come back on our pregame coverage, we'll have more on that pitching matchup and walk you up towards first pitch coming up at 6:40. I'm Sam Levitt on the Padres Radio Network. Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the Western Metal Building here at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch, Game 2 of this 3-game series coming your way in just a little bit. Should be a fun night here at Petco Park. It is Joe Musgrove basketball jersey night, so looking around the loft here tonight, I see a lot of 44s on the backs of fans here tonight. Great basketball jerseys. We've got fans wearing them over their collared shirts, over their sweatshirts, everywhere you look around. We got Joe Musgrove basketball jerseys here tonight. So a great giveaway. Hope everybody is having fun here tonight. And if you're on the way to the game, get here quick. You got to get one of those Musgrove basketball jerseys. And a very cool giveaway on behalf of the Padres. Let's now tell you what to watch for in tonight's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in tonight's game, and really throughout the rest of this season at Petco Park. The home run here in San Diego. The Padres, like we said earlier, have 11 home runs in the 5 games on this homestand. The Padres are on pace to hit 102 home runs at Petco Park this season. That would set a new team record at the ballpark. They hit 101 in 2019 here. Petco Park, though, it's not just the Padres. It's allowing more home runs this season than usual. The home runs per game here ranks second in the major leagues. Keep in mind, this ballpark has never ranked higher than 18th in that category over the course of a full season. So it is really different this year, the way the ball is flying out of this place. Keep an eye on that here tonight. Do we see many more home runs? And keep an eye on that throughout the rest of this summer and into the fall. And that's what you look at, what to watch for in tonight's game. Let's dive into our pitching matchup between J.P. Sears and Randy Vasquez.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
The right-hander Randy Vasquez, 25 years old, on the mound for San Diego this season in the major leagues. 1-3, a 5.40 ERA in 7 starts, 33-plus innings. He's allowed 44 hits, struck out 21, walked only 5. Last start Thursday against the Diamondbacks, he was very solid. 6 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs given up, 6 hits. He did allow 2 home runs. This will be his first career start against Oakland. The arsenal for Randy: 4-seam fastball, curveball, sinker, changeup, sweeper, and a cutter. Meanwhile, left-hander J.P. Sears on the mound for the A's. The 28-year-old is 4-5 with a 3.93 ERA this season in 13 starts, 73-plus innings. He struck out 53, walked 21. Coming off a good outing against the Mariners his last time out, 6 innings, 2 earned runs given up. This will be Sears' first ever start against the Padres and at Petco Park. And the arsenal for Sears: sweeper, 4-seamer, changeup, sinker, and a slider. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup here tonight between Randy Vasquez and J.P. Sears. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Padres enter today's game back at 500, a record of 35-35. They're going for a series win. They're going for a winning homestand, and they're looking to move back above 500. We'll see if the Padres can do all that here tonight. When we come back, Jesse Ackler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and then all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network.